Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. I hope you're all doing okay today and that you're ready for some short stories. I had a weird dream this morning. My dreams usually are kind of weird, but this one was really strange. I don't remember a lot of it. It was one of those dreams. Excuse me, voice. Great start to a reading session, guys. But it was one of those dreams that you kind of forget almost immediately, but I do remember some things. And what I do remember is that my computer bag was filled, or laptop bag was filled with fireflies. But apparently I was the only one who could see those fireflies, and one of my neighbors, not any of the neighbors I know in real life, but apparently it was my neighbor, came in and just, when I was trying to go back to bed in the dream, he just walked right into my bedroom and stepped on my chest and was like, "No, you can't sleep on the left side of the bed because you're mentally ill. You need to be on the right side." Where does my brain get it from? I don't understand. Dreams are so weird sometimes. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that was a great start to the day. I was just, what? Oh my god. But yeah, otherwise it's been quite a nice day. I've been very effective at work, it feels like. Been working like crazy, and I still have so much to do tomorrow, and I'm like, ugh, kill me now. It's only Wednesday tomorrow. I want weekend now. Now. But then I went to inspect my car, and it passed, so I'm happy about that at least. That felt very good. I was kind of nervous because the guy before me, he was a farmer. I listened into his conversation with another man that was there, and the guy that inspected his car was just like, "No, you did not pass." So I was like, "Oh god, I hope I will not be in that situation. That would be quite unfortunate." But I passed, so I only had to pay for the visit there and not for any kind of repair costs, so that's very good. But yeah, today we are doing the short stories of the house in Fata Morgana, which I am both very excited for, but also a bit sad in a way, because this is the last thing we will do with the house in Fata Morgana. Then we will move on to something else entirely, and it feels kind of bittersweet because it's, well, first of all, it is my favorite story of all time, and secondly, we've been doing this for such a long time, since January. It's been a long journey, and it's kind of sad to see it go. But I am moving ahead of things because I think that the short stories will take at least 2, maybe even 3 streams. I don't know. I can't really tell because I thought that reincarnation would take more streams than it did as well, and then we finished it last time, so I don't really know, but I would guess at least 2 streams for the short stories if my investigation is correct, because I have been peeking on what other YouTubers have done. I haven't watched anything, but just checked the number of videos, and yeah, I think 2 or 3 streams is probably what we are going to do before we move on. So yeah, both excited to see these stories, but also, as I said, a bit bittersweet to say goodbye to this game and to this content really that I'm streaming. So yeah, I don't think I have read any of these short stories. I might have read a few of them, because I do remember that there were a few short stories with the PC version of Requiem. I think it was Requiem. I don't think there was any of that in The House in Fata Morgana, but in Requiem I believe that there was some short stories in the PC version, which I have read, but it's been such a long time, and honestly, when I played the PC version of Requiem, I was in a really bad place mentally, like I was not doing well at all. So I have forgotten all of that. I remember having read something, but I don't remember what it was, so I am going in blind, just as with Reincarnation, really. Many short stories are short, 15 minutes. Okay, yeah, that's good. We will see how many we can squeeze in during this time. I have almost kind of 2 hours, not really, but yeah, somewhere around that mark as usual. So we will see how many we can squeeze in. But yeah, I am ready to start if you are, so let's go. And hope my voice will hold up. Also, I do hope that the sound is good for you guys. I'm going to make sure I have some sound. There. Look at this, how far we have come. The House in Fata Morgana, A Requiem for Innocence, Reincarnation, and now the short stories. We have had quite a journey, guys. Quite a journey indeed. I am not reading this out loud because I'm guessing it will disappear. Or not. Okay, I'm reading it. Never mind then. The vast majority of... No, okay, never mind. Wow. Tales afforded not their moment in the limelight, left to waste away in obscurity. Ooh. But now we are reading them. Okay, so there are 2 pages. How do I... Okay. A little lesser on the second page. Okay. Well, let's start with a slow killing poison. The maid spoke little of what happened after the white-haired girl's disappearance in the era of roses, for she believed the rest of the tale insignificant, of no value to share with her listener, the white-haired girl herself. Ooh, okay, interesting. Thus, her role as storyteller ended with the girl's departure from the stage, and while the other characters' stories continued on, they were cut from the script, afforded not their moment in the limelight, left to waste away in obscurity. Arthur Baldwin was vexed. Shortly before they were to be married, his engagement with Nellie Rhodes, eldest daughter of the Rhodes family, had been broken off. He understood well enough why it had happened, and had it been his decision, he likely would have made the same one. So Arthur's dissatisfaction lay not with the dissolution itself, nor did he bear any fault in it. His bride-to-be had simply been gripped by madness. Yeah, she was losing it by the end of the first door, definitely. I'm liking this, that we are like visiting what happened after the first door. I'm liking this a lot. I hear she attacked an Abigail. Oh, I was told she took one of her eyes out. Even worse, she killed her. Those are but rumors, my dears. The truth is so much more dreadful. I used to work at the Rose Manor, you see. And a young lady, she... Initially, Arthur was skeptical of what people were saying. He assumed the tales were being exaggerated as they spread. But when the head of the Rose family came personally to deliver reparations and formally nullify the engagement, he gave Arthur a rough overview of what had happened. It was apparently true that Nellie had assaulted an Abigail, and it was true she spent most of her time in her room now, looking pale and sickly and drained of her spirits. And then, when he said outright, a demon's possessed her, Arthur had little choice but to believe something wasn't right. And to top it all off, Nellie's older brother Mel ran off to become a priest, presumably to get away from everything. And he really didn't want to become a priest either, so he really felt like, nope, I am getting out of this. I am escaping. In classical Mel fashion, like taking a cowardly choice instead of like maybe staying and helping when his sister is struggling. Nellie's father implored Arthur to remain discreet about her situation. Not that he had any intention of going around and spreading personal details about her life. However, rumors have a nasty way of slipping through the tiniest of cracks, sneaking about through the dark like a seasoned cat burglar. What nobles like to refer to as social gatherings were in practice more like gossip gatherings. And in short order, the Rose family's eldest daughter was the talk of high society. Incidentally, the painter whose downfall eventually culminated into this tragedy was also strangled by the noble grapevine, though Arthur had no way of knowing as much. Perhaps the painter's curse extended beyond the girl's hair color. The Rose family was destined to be brought to ruin by the gossip of their fellow aristocrats. One evening, Arthur decided he would sneak into the Rhodes manor. He had requested visitations with Nellie on numerous occasions, but been turned away every time. "She's in no condition for company," was what they kept telling him, which left him no choice but to see her uninvited. Interesting. So I wonder if it is like that he wants to confirm that she actually is mad, that like the annulment of their engagement is valid, or if he's actually worried about her. Interesting. The aroma of the roses seemed more overpowering at night than during the day, and he wasn't sure whether it was just his imagination. The nagging irritation it caused him was, however, not only in his mind. Arthur instructed his coachman to wait on a street a little ways out and made the rest of the way to the manor on foot, entering through the garden. As he waded through the sea of roses, he clenched his teeth. Arthur preferred restraint when it came to both gardening and girls. What am I doing with my life? How did I end up here, sneaking about trying to find that obnoxious little girl's room? Arthur had a few pleasant memories of this rose garden. The Rhodes and Baldwins had a long history, so as a child he would often find himself left here to play while the adults did business. It was him, Nellie, who can... Wait, I can't read, guys. It was him, Nellie, who can never seem to stop hanging off her brother, and Mel, the textbook definition of a well-behaved aristocrat boy. Not once had he managed to step into the siblings' private world. There was only room for the two of them, leaving Arthur stuck out there all by himself. The best he could manage was a little teasing now and then. For example, saying her hair looked like the color of fallen leaves. I never asked for this engagement anyway. Who would even want to marry a girl who thinks herself some kind of princess? Not me, that's for sure. But still, he had known her practically his whole life. Of course he was going to be curious when people were saying she had gone mad or been possessed by a demon. He was just curious, he told himself as he drew nearer to Nellie's window. The curtains appeared to be drawn. He couldn't see anything inside, so he crouched down to pick up a few pebbles to toss over the veranda. A few soft taps rang out in the night before the curtain finally shifted. A few moments later, a young girl stumbled out into the moonlight. Despite already knowing the answer, his first thought was, "Who is that?" He wanted to smack himself, but at the same time it was hard to deny the discrepancies between the girl standing there and the girl of his memories. The moonlight seemed to give her flaxen hair a ghostly bluish tint. It fluttered in a passing breeze, and Arthur felt something about her he never had before. She's so pretty. Whoa, slow down. What's wrong with you? Pretty? That self-centered, spoiled little brat. There wasn't a trace on the rambunctious Nellie he knew to be found. She stood there by the veranda's railing, gazing vaguely off into space like a pensive spirit. It wasn't at all what Arthur had expected to see when he came calling. He assumed she would be nothing but skin and bones, haggard and unsightly. Now, Lady Nellie, do you not think it rude not to at least greet me? We were engaged, as you might recall. Her eyes still unfocused, Nellie turned her gaze down toward where Arthur stood. It was a reaction, but still he felt as though she had snubbed him, which did little to alleviate her irritation building up since he had arrived. Look, it's like a scene right out of your beloved Romeo and Juliet. Not that I'm here enthusiastically, of course. Mumbling complaints to himself, Arthur climbed a nearby tree, leaping from a branch onto the veranda. And there she was, within arm's reach, but as distant as ever. Still, she could see nothing in her eyes. He could see nothing in her eyes, sorry. Hello? Say something already, would you, Nellie? Perhaps she really had lost her mind, just not in the way he had been led to believe. Arthur spent a few moments pondering how to proceed. He didn't consider himself a model gentleman like Mel, not even slightly, but he wasn't so crass as to laugh it off either. You certainly are quiet tonight, aren't you? I'm not sure how I'm supposed to act when you're a completely different person. Every time you open your mouth, I want to sew it shut. You're always complaining. Nothing's ever good enough for you. But right now, I just want you to say something. Anything. How am I supposed to know what's going through your head if you don't tell me? Or is there just nothing at all? Nellie's gaze glided past Arthur and to the rose garden behind him. Nellie, are you listening to me? He tried again and again to get her attention, calling her name, waving his hand in front of her face, gently tugging on her hair. But all his attempts were fruitless. She simply stood there, lifeless, a well-crafted doll. He wasn't sure exactly how to describe how he felt. Slightly unsettled to start, a bit of pity to go with it, and a great deal of something yanking at his insides. Arthur had few pleasant memories with the Rhodes. That didn't mean he wanted to erase his past with them entirely, though. But looking at her, this empty shell, he felt almost as though those days were disappearing with her. How irritating! He knew the word wasn't right, but he went with it anyway, heaving a sigh after letting it linger in the air for a moment. It's always been like this. I'm no more than a buzzing insect to you. Hello, Doodle, welcome, welcome. Left work 3 minutes late, which meant traffic was awful. Aw, that's too bad. We are following Arthur right now, the one who was supposed to be betrothed to, or who was betrothed to Nellie, but they called it off because she went cray-cray, and well, now he's basically sneaked onto her veranda and trying to like get her to say something. He wanted to see for himself whether it was true or not, and now he's very unsettled as she doesn't react at all. She is gone, really. Which is really, really sad. Like, this story is so sad, especially like after having played Reincarnation just recently and like seen her alive and trying to get over her love for her brother and like move on and be a different person, like get over her problems. And this is what happened to her, like in the first door. And Mel just left. Like, I mean, I can understand why, but still, like, he just left her like this. It's just, it hurts. It's definitely painful. Like, what she did was definitely wrong. But She does not deserve this. I can't stand this dreadful rose garden. It was exhausting having to come here again and again just because our families are close. I would try to say something and you'd go running off into your darling brother's arms. Dear, smell this, dear, smell that. Is that all you know how to say? And he would just give you a half-hearted smile and pretend to be sorry for not paying attention to you. Yeah, half-hearted. Poor Nelly, like, I get it, like, it's, as always with the house in Fata Morgana, complicated, it's not black or white. I mean, Mel is not entirely in fault here. Nelly did very bad as well, but like, I feel like she wasn't given the love she needed. Like, she was a 14-year-old girl starving for attention that no one really wanted to give to her. And then her, like, anger just basically left her. So, yeah. Arthur looked out over the garden as well. He was more talking to himself than he was to Nelly. I'm sure you don't remember, but one time I even brought you flowers. What were they? Some kind of anemone, I think? But you wouldn't take them. You said the roses here were prettier, so you didn't need my flowers. What a miserable day that was. But standing beside the silent spectre, melancholy overwhelmed any anger or frustration he might have otherwise felt. Perhaps it was because nothing he said managed to elicit any reaction out of her. Or perhaps because he wished he had come out and said this all sooner. Unless expressed, feelings merely fester. I don't care one bit about you, and I mean that. It's only ever been about doing what's best for my family. Of course, Nelly was a perfect example of why you couldn't let everything out either. The gossip spoke not only of her attacking Abigail, but of her destroying her relationship with her brother. And that was likely what had done the most damage. Knowing what he knew of Nelly in her younger days, Arthur had little trouble believing what the rumor said, that her affection for Mel went far beyond simple familial love. It was for my family. But that doesn't mean I wasn't going to try to get along with you. You probably don't believe me, since I certainly never acted like it, but I genuinely did want us to be on good terms. It's just, you had to be the one who changed first. You were always treating me like I was worthless, like I meant nothing to you. Not like any of that would have even left an impression in your one-track mind, of course. But that's why I wanted you to take the first step. I'm not some wise old monk who can just turn my frustration off on command. Arthur let out another sigh. Do you think anything would have gone differently if I could have been more grown-up? A gust of wind blew through, sending up a flurry of rose petals, carrying it up past the two of them and through the velvet curtains into Nelly's bedchamber. A faint smile crossed her lips. Arthur could only guess at what was going through her mind, what was reflected in her eyes. In her room, he could see several pairs of small children's shoes, a doll with its hair all neatly made up, a pile of sheet music drawn up for her by a respected composer years earlier, and toys carved from wood. It was like he was looking through a window into the past. That was all he needed to know. He could have treated her like the princess she thought she was, and she would have gone down the same path. Nelly's eyes were on one person only. Arthur wasn't even a shadow on her peripheral. Your brother's still smiling for you in there, isn't he? And that was all she needed. After that night, Arthur stayed away from the roads and never mentioned his siblings again. It was the best thing to do, he thought. He had his own life to worry about. But fate wouldn't allow him to avoid hearing about the family from time to time. About 4 years later, Nelly, who had apparently fallen ill, passed away at a young age of 18. Oh, that just, yeah. I mean, it is interesting to speculate, like, would it have been any different if Arthur hadn't, like, been so mean to her? Like, if he had been nicer, could they have, like, worked eventually? Or was it always doomed? I mean, we do have the curse to consider, I guess. So I guess in this life, it was doomed from the start. But I wonder if she meets Arthur in reincarnation, could it be different? Could she find her happiness with someone else? Because I believe that would be a good thing, because then she would be able to get over her brother, because she would see that he's not the only good man out there, and he's not even a good man. Like, he's a man, but he's not a good man, if you know what I mean. Like, he's just he is a good man, I guess, but like, he's not perfect. No one is. And if she could meet someone else to fall in love with, she would see that that was just like her ideal, her princely ideal that she put onto her brother. But yeah, I mean, it is a tricky question. But then again, she's so young. She's like, she was 14 when this played out, and died now when she's 18. That's nothing. Like, I don't even like my crushes at that age. Like, those were just crushes. You get over that. And I believe that she would be able to, like, if she had been given the chance. And that's why this is just so tragic. Has Nelly been sickly in every timeline except the modern day then? Yeah, probably. You're right about that. She was sickly in her first life as well. So yeah, I would guess so. But here I wonder if it's like, because she wasn't sickly before this, so I wonder if it's like the madness that made her sick, like she being so mentally ill. Because I'm not entirely sure if it's true or not. So, like, you can tease me if you want to, but like, isn't there a thing that you actually can die from heartache? Or is that just a myth? Like, I do think that bunnies can, at least, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Nelly is not a bunny, but like, I do believe that what you're feeling mentally definitely can affect you physically as well. If you are bad enough mentally, then you will probably eventually get sick. You are more likely to get sick. Like, my mom and I have had this discussion before. Like, my mom, for those of you who don't know, has cancer. She has had for several years. And I remember her mentioning, like, one time that, or like, I'm not even sure if it was more like a question, like, I wonder if this would have happened if your dad hadn't gotten his stroke, because my dad had a stroke when I was 15, and he's handicapped in a wheelchair. It's been a huge struggle for us both, really, both mom and me. And like, that's a really good question. Like, would she have gotten her cancer if that hadn't happened? Like, if life had been easier, had she got it? Like, then again, if you have a perfect life, you can still get sick. But I still believe that what you're feeling mentally can affect you physically. So I think that probably this could be a case of Nelly getting sick because she's just not in a good place. Don't think not that young, but mental affects physical for sure. Yeah. One thing leads to another, I guess, if you stop taking care of yourself too. Yeah, that is also true. So there's really no way to tell, but that's at least what I'm thinking here. But you are very right. She has been sickly in all her lives, except for reincarnation. So fingers crossed that she will be fine, but I mean, she has been given a new chance, and I believe that they all have like be given better circumstances. They are still, like we have discussed multiple times, they are still the same persons. They still have somewhat of the same problems, but they have been given better circumstances to work with those problems. So yeah, I hope that she will find a nice author in in her new life and be able to get over her love for her brother, because she deserves it. She, besides her obsessiveness with Mel, she is a sweet girl. Like, yeah, she's spoiled, yeah, she's bratty, but like she's 14 and she has been spoiled her whole life, so why wouldn't she act that way? It's not really her fault. So the Rhodes held a small funeral service, which Mel did not attend. Mel! Arthur couldn't even begin to imagine what he, her brother, felt about it. But another 3 years later, Mel followed behind her. Yeah, that's right. I remember from the end credits that he died young too. Wow. At the age of 24, he threw himself off the top of a church. Oh my god, my heart! Holy... He killed himself. Wow, okay. That went a lot darker than I thought it would. My god. I mean, he must have struggled so much with this too. Like, oh my goodness. And just trying to disconnect himself from it by being a priest, and like, oh my god, my heart. Hello, Gaming Master. Welcome, welcome. According to those near him, he had been acting unusual in the months leading up to his death, claiming he could hear a woman's voice talking to him. Ooh, I wonder if that's Morgana. If he had taken his life out of grief, 3 years seemed like too long of a gap. Perhaps it had built up over time, and that was how long it took to reach the boiling point, but that's not how it felt to Arthur. It felt like Mel had been guided there by higher power. Or maybe pushed. And there was one other strange detail. He had died at exactly the strike of noon. Ooh. Morgana, you didn't. Ah. Ooh. This is so good, but it kinda hurts too. Ugh. If I remember right, stress is a huge impact on suicide, so yeah, definitely. Oh, this is, yeah. I'm sick from the venom from a brown reckless spider. Oh my god, that sounds not very good. I'm not sure what a reckless spider is, but if it's like a venomous spider, that doesn't sound nice, but you are recovering. That's good. I hope you are going to recover well then, and that you will be able to relax here for a while and take your mind off it. My god, that's not good at all. Good kind of hurt? Yeah, I mean, with stories, I feel like it's always a good kind of hurt, so... If it's not real life, then yeah, I do enjoy tragic stories, but yeah, it is hurting a bit. But it does feel good doing this, knowing that they are in a better place in reincarnation. So yeah. As the bell rang its 12th toll. Yikes. And that was that? Oh my god. That was so dark. Holy crap. Defectives. Okay, let's see what the next one has in store for us then. That one was... I really liked that one. That was really good. Really sad though. Ah, and so, once again, so real. Like, I really love how the house in Fata Morgana doesn't, like, shy away from dark topics. I do like that a lot, and I don't like overdo it either. Like I've said multiple times, it's not like torture porn or anything. It's just very human, very like, yeah, it's so human, and I love it. It's so good. I like the background. Wonder who we will follow now then. Okay, Yukimasa. In the distant Hoei era, while the Tokugawa shogunate governed the feudal Japan, Yukimasa Aida made his living far to the west with little knowledge of what lay beyond the borders of his own native country. Land of the Rising Sun was an isolated nation, turning nearly everyone away save for traders from a few specific regions. And those restrictions applied equally to Japanese who had departed the country before they were put in place. Yukimasa was a third-generation immigrant, having never once set foot in his homeland. And for that reason, as a child he held a great adoration for the glorious nation described by his grandfather. And he was particularly fond of the katana passed down to him by his grandfather. Gee, I wonder why. Some topics are less to your taste, but yeah. Though it bore no name, the blade had a curiously bestial glimmer that entranced Yukimasa at first sight. The katana had belonged to Yukimasa's grandmother, but she had passed away before he was born. His grandfather described her as a skilled swordswoman, slight in frame but easily able to take down several men more than twice her size. Ooh. A strong lady. After his grandfather passed and bequeathed unto him the blade, Yukimasa would from time to time see phantoms of a young woman drenched in blood. She had sharp, narrow eyes like him that looked more like his than even his parents. He felt almost as though his own reflection had stepped out of the mirror to cut him down, or like they were a pair of killers standing shoulder to shoulder. With each recurrence of the illusion, it took root even deeper into his soul, and Yukimasa grew even more certain that one day he would cross over into her world. That he was simply holding in his true nature. That the beast dwelling within would break loose eventually. This tale, however, is of a time when he was still more man than beast. Ooh, I am intrigued. I don't think we have ever seen, like, more man than beast Yukimasa, honestly. In the wake of framing and killing 2 crewmates for smuggling Spanish silver, Yukimasa was having something of an identity crisis. On both occasions he had been smiling during the act, at least according to those who had seen him. If what they said were true, he wasn't conscious of it. Bless you, kitty. My cat sneezed. But he didn't particularly doubt their words either. It was, in all likelihood, true. He had killed 2 men and enjoyed doing it. What unsettled Yukimasa most, though, was that his initial reaction was, I wonder what I'm going to become. Not a moment's concern for the men whose lives he had stolen. Once their still warm bodies hit the water, that was that. He held no nostalgia for the months they had spent out at sea together. He didn't care what kind of men they had been, or how much their families might grieve over the loss. Yukimasa wondered if that made him narcissistic. The lack of interest in anyone but himself seemed to fit the bill, but he didn't actually feel like he held himself in very high stature. That's an interesting thought. Could Yukimasa perhaps be narcissistic? I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not really like well versed in the diagnosis of narcissism, but I mean, it could be a form of it, right? Or just like maybe a sociopath or something. I'm not sure, but he definitely is having some sort of mental diagnosis, because yeah, he is not like your everyday person. He simply had this vague awareness of himself as a twisted, unsightly creature. On that day, the ship stopped at a small port town to replenish supplies and give the crew a few days to stretch their legs. They were still about 2 months out from Amsterdam, where his beloved awaited his return. What a hellish trip that was, a crewman of the Western origin naturally muttered. If I never have to hear the word smuggle again, it'll be too damn soon. The way the whole crew got their cheeks clenched after that's about driving me mad. Not blaming you, I mean, just how it is. Yukimasa shook his head and gave the man a faint smile. And in his mind, he chuckled about how no one could seem to see through his mask. The blame lay with him for much more than just the tension on the ship. I think sociopath fits better, he mostly just pretend emotions. Yeah. Like I said, I'm no expert, from my memory of what that entails, I feel like he's probably sociopathic. Real shit job you got stuck with there. I don't know if I'd be able to do it and keep a straight face like you did. Bet you're aching to let off some steam, ain't ya? You can be straight with me. I could certainly stand for some relief, yes. That much was true. However, Yukimasa meant it in a very different way. Come with me tonight then. I know the perfect place to get you just what you need. The tanned seaman smirked, which was all Yukimasa needed to know what he was insinuating. He hesitated to come up with a response. Worried about Captain Asama? Don't. I ain't gonna tell him. Besides, it's not like he doesn't have needs too, you get me? Ew. Some of the crew knew that Yukimasa was romantically involved with the captain's daughter, and the man standing before him seemed to assume his hesitation stemmed from that. But Captain Asama would, as the seafarer had said, spend his time off satisfying his personal needs. Ugh. Why? Be faithful. I get it, it's a different time and a different, with a different view on these kind of things, but seriously, you have a wife. That was just part of the life on the sea. Everyone understood and no one considered it being unfaithful. I do. Requiring a ship full of vigorous young men to save themselves for their partners, who they would often not see for months at a time, could in fact be considered a form of torture. There are ways of letting off steam without having a partner involved. Just saying, you don't need another person, you don't need to be unfaithful. Just food for thought. There were a number of brothels scattered about the port town. For them, sailors were practically the ideal clients. A ship only stayed around for a few days to a week, meaning no time to get attached or cause other similar problems. About the only complaint a prostitute might have is that sailors tended to be quite pent up. They weren't the kind of client and clientele a new recruit would generally handle. That settles it. Tonight. Grab something to eat and then we'll meet up at... Yukimasa forced a smile for the man, who had taken his silence as a yes. But he wasn't worried about Captain Asama finding out or being unfaithful to Pauline. He simply wasn't sure how much he could trust the seaman's recommendation. And the last thing he wanted was to catch some kind of disease. Yukimasa was paired up with a skeletal girl with faded brown hair, which she had done up so much it only served to empathize the lack of anything anywhere else on her body. This is your idea of the perfect place? He couldn't deny his disappointment at his assignment, who boasted absolutely nothing of what he sought in a woman. In fact, he was afraid he might snap her in half. As other pairs heated up beyond the thin curtains, Yukimasa's interest plummeted. If a woman tried to seduce him, he would act in accordance with his base instincts, but otherwise, Yukimasa didn't have a particularly strong libido, so... You're not into this at all, are you? No, It's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you want to trade me for another girl. I used to have a few regulars, but these days I got nothing. Sooner or later they're going to toss me out on my ass, and I'll have to resort to back alley quickies to make a living. You're the customer. You got every right to complain to the manager about drawing the short straw. She sounded like a woman hanging from her last thread. I'm not going to cause any trouble for you. Well, aren't you sweet? You're a loss, she said with a snicker. I object to being called sweet, but anyway. I stand out more than most, so if I make a scene, it's more likely to escalate. You even went out of the way to explain yourself, so I object to your objection. But you do have a point. You're from the Far East, aren't you? Don't see many of your kind around these parts, so it's no surprise you draw attention. You know what? I've changed my mind. Don't ask for another girl. Clients like you only come around once in a blue moon, so I'd rather not let you go. Let's both avoid making a fuss and stay here together. You make it sound like I'm some kind of exotic animal. You're cute when you scowl. We can find out if you're an animal later, but you certainly are exotic. You're not even going to pretend this is a business exchange anymore, are you? I mean, why bother? I'm just a leftover scrap that nobody wanted. There was something oddly charming about her gleeful laugh, combined with a stream of self-deprecation, which would have been less of an issue for Yukimasa had he become physically intimate with the I can read. And now I lost myself entirely. I will restart that sentence. Which would have been less of an issue for Yukimasa had he become physically intimate with Pauline yet. Because by comparison, this prostitute would look like nothing more than a couple dried twigs tied together. But he wouldn't be able to see Pauline for another couple months, and he was beginning to think this girl might just do the trick for now. Their ship was scheduled to stay in port for about a week. Although they would have to spend some time moving cargo on and off the boat, the stay was, by and large, a recreational one. It was early afternoon, and while much of the crew had gathered together to go drinking, Yukimasa was taking a relaxed walk along the shore. He was no less interested in exploring the unfamiliar port town as anyone else, but unlike them, he wasn't the kind of man whose first instinct was to go straight to the pub. They all jabbed at him for being stiff and tight-assed, none the wiser to the primal urges he kept buried within. And who would ever suspect it either? Who could watch him walk up to an elderly man fishing on the dock, ask, "How's the catch?" with a smile, and imagine a bloodthirsty beast lurked within? I really like that sentence. Yukimasa is so interesting, he's fascinating. And what's so scary is that there are people like him in the real world, in real life. Just being very good at masking and pretending to be normal, but deep within, they are wanting to murder people. There are people like that, and that's super fascinating, super scary. The man gave a lazy nod in return, adding, "Ain't half bad today." "You're a sailor, I wager, am I right?" the man said as Yukimasa made to resume his walk. "You are? Well, a warning for you then, outsider. You do best to stay away from any back alleys after dark. It ain't safe at night, nohow." Yukimasa gave the man a half smile, feeling somewhat patronized by his warning. He was plenty capable of discerning where the dangerous parts of town were, and he was confident in his ability to defend himself if someone tried to attack. There's already been several victims. Yukimasa froze. As in, murders. Kill deader than dead. And they still ain't caught him neither. Wouldn't want any of our guests to end up next on the list. Out of curiosity, how does he kill? Oh, he's getting ideas here. I'm getting flashbacks to reincarnation when he beat up those guys in the alley. Like, he wants to kill. He wants to be the murderer. Like me. No, Dudor, I don't think that you are a murderer on the inside. Sorry, you're too sweet for that. Although, who knows, really? Maybe I am a murderer. You never know. The old man turned his gaze down, his face becoming a shadow against the clear blue ocean stretching out behind him. He dismembers them. Hard to imagine, eh? Cutting a person into a bunch of pieces. He don't discriminate in either. Man, woman, child, don't matter none. He's a sicko, a complete madman. And they ain't found no pattern to the victims neither. Nothing to say who he might be or who he might choose next. So don't think you're safe just because you're not from around here. Yukimasa could feel his vision narrowing, converging on a single point. Oh, he could imagine. He could imagine clear as the afternoon sky. And oh, how he wished that could be. Well, look who it is. Fans are running into you here. A woman's voice dragged him back to reality. He felt like he had just been pulled up from the bottom of the ocean, and when he turned to face her, he must have still looked a bit dazed, judging from the way she raised her eyebrow at him. Oh, let me guess. You don't recognize me not all made up for work. It's me, the girl from yesterday. She had her hair up in an approximation of her previous night's hairstyle, to which Yukimasa gave an "ah" in feigned realization. So, what are you doing wandering out here? Bored? Got nothing better to do? He wondered if the woman was even capable of being less blunt, especially considering he had, technically, been her client the night before. I'm just taking a walk. Not much to see out here. There's the ocean. Don't you get enough of that when you're out on it? I'll never tire of the sight of the sea. Is that so? She said, followed by a softer, slightly exasperated, I'll never understand guys. But a few seconds later she gave him a big smile. So, hey, you're not busy. Why did you come to my place? I can throw together a bare bones little lunch. Again, I'm taking a walk. And bare bones is hardly a convincing sales pitch. I'm saying if you want a quality meal, pony up for some goods. Ah, so that was what she meant. Apathetic, but finding no reason to turn her invitation down, Yukimasa agreed to go along. I'm taking a liking to you, she had said. Stop by whenever you got the chance, at least until you have to take off. I can treat you even better than when I'm on the job, and free of charge. What do you have to lose? So that's exactly what Yukimasa did. Seeing her became part of his daily routine. And the more time they spent together, the more he learned about her. She had once been married and planning to start a family, but money troubles led to debt piling on, which led to her husband running out on her. And with the entirety of their debt on her shoulders, she had to start working, which was how she ended up at a brothel. As she told her story, Yukimasa showed a fair degree of sympathy, but took the whole thing with a grain of salt. If everything she said was true, she'd had a hard life indeed, but there was no guarantee it was. Yukimasa made certain not to be open and dismissive or skeptical, though, to play the good listener. There was one thing he could be certain of, though. He felt a tiny bit of solidarity in the woman's solitude. The sense she was missing something. The sense she had a hunger. The sense she had a hole that couldn't be filled. The sense that she was defective. You know, we get on pretty well, don't you think? Maybe you could, I don't know, take me as your mistress? She sounded like she was only playing around, But still he responded with, "It's not wise to pair two defectives together." "What's that supposed to mean?" she said with a scowl. I'm guessing this is what Yukimasa getting kind of a friend-ish? I mean, he's not really capable of forming friendships, I feel, but like, the closest thing. Yukimasa's shift was to depart the following day, and that evening the woman asked him to stay the night, to which he was unsure how to react. Is he going to kill her? Or is she going to be the killer? That could be quite a plot twist. Don't you have work? I'll just say I wasn't feeling well. It's not like anyone wants me there. But don't you need a... I can survive taking one day off. I want to be with you. And with that, he could come up with no further objections. Regardless of what he did, he would be heading back out to sea the following day, likely never to see the woman again. So rather than waste time debating her own life choices, it would be easier for everyone if he just let her do what she pleased. Killed or be killed? Yeah, that is the question. I'm thinking it will be one of the two. Obviously she won't kill him, because it's Yukimasa and we know what happens to him later, but like, she could try. Tomorrow, none of it would be his concern after all. He agreed, and she gave him a big smile in response. I'm going to make you a feast tonight, she said. You're paying though. Yukimasa wondered if, perhaps, what she wanted most was to play like they were a real family. That was probably it. What she was missing in her life wasn't love or romance, but someone to sit around a table and enjoy a meal with. Interesting. I'm getting like Pauline vibes. I know it isn't her because we know where she is at, but like I feel like in Reincarnation we got to know Pauline a lot more than we have had before, and we've learned that she is also a little cray. So I'm like getting very much like, once again I'll be talking about how the stories or events mirrors other stories and events in these games, and like I'm getting huge Pauline vibes from this. Like, what she was missing in her life wasn't love or romance, but someone to sit around the table and enjoy a meal with. Like, because she is fine with Yukimasa not loving her. She's fine with that. She just wants to live a happy life with him, regardless of him not being in love with her, regardless of him being a psycho killer. Like, she just doesn't care, because he fills that hole that she wants to be filled. So yeah, I feel like interesting. So this is like his first encounter with someone like that. Interesting. But Pauline exists in this story now? Yeah, she does. She does. She has been mentioned, but like, this isn't Pauline. They have met each other. He is together with her. So like, they are a couple. So this is not Pauline. It's just someone that is just as Pauline, defective, like Yukimasa. So interesting. But that raised a new question. What happened after she had had her fun? She found someone to fill the hole in her spirit, but it was fake, and the hole wouldn't stay filled forever. Oh, I'm doing something terribly cruel to her, aren't I? There was nothing he could do about that anymore, though. Even if she were to ask him to stay, he didn't have that option. Worst ship, Pauline and Yukimasa? Yeah, I agree, honestly. Like, it's just so toxic in every way. Like, I mean, if if they are happy, then good on them, but like, I really wish, honestly, that in reincarnation that she could have called the police. He would be behind bars, which is safer for everyone, and she could find someone else more healthy to be with. Like, why did it have to be him? So yeah, I agree, definitely worst ship. Because it's just so toxic. It's like not even slightly cute, it's just messed up. May I ask you something? He said. Yeah? How did it feel when you lost your family, your sanctuary? You sure know how to go right for the heart. I apologize. I don't want to think about anything that might bring my mood down. If you want to know what it feels like, experience it for yourself. Find yourself a girl and get her to run off on you. Seemingly taking his silence with discomfort, the woman let out a soft laugh and said, But I don't want you to have to go through that. Supper was a seafood stew. Hardly a feast, but there was a homely warmth to the meal, something she had likely honed over the years. When a man is incomplete, missing a vital part of what makes him human, what becomes of him? Does he lash out? Does he lose the will to live? Does he forget what kind of man he is? Yukimasa didn't think he fit into any of those categories. In the middle of the night, Yukimasa silently slipped out of bed and made his way for the door. Wait! But he didn't make it 2 steps before the woman grabbed him by the sleeve. She must have been awake the whole time. There was no way she could have noticed him leaving otherwise. Don't do this to me. I've had more than enough of waking up to an empty bed. I'm not going to let it happen again, not this time. You may think sneaking off without a word is the cleanest way to end things, but you're wrong. Stay until morning. Let me say a proper goodbye. No, I wasn't. You weren't what? Of course you were. I don't care if you think of me as a free tale for the week you're just going to forget about when it's over. I'm using you for my own personal satisfaction too. But the one thing I won't stand for is you just up and disappearing on me. You're not the one being left behind, so you don't understand how worthless and pathetic that makes you feel. It hurts. It hurts so much more than anything else you could do. Don't leave me. That was probably what she wanted to say more than anything else. The loneliness that had created a hole in her heart was making waves, and this was the real desire that lay hidden in her words. She didn't want to be alone anymore. I'm not leaving. I'll be back. There's something I wanted to give you, and I was just going to get it. And what would that be? It's my way of showing gratitude. I think the word you're looking for is present? Yes, that. Is he going to go get his katana? Her eyes were locked with Yukimasa's. She was staring through the darkness in an attempt to ascertain how truthful he was being. After 10 or 15 seconds of glaring, she let him go. I won't be long, he said with a smile. And the music stopped. As he walked down the moonlit port, Yukimasa's mind raced. No one truly understands themselves more than superficially. Some say you know yourself best. Others say it quite the opposite. The concept of the self is full of such uncertainties, contradictions. Yukimasa suspected he was suppressing himself with his self. So while he had a reasonable grasp on who his outer self was, his inner self was a complete mystery. And that fact sometimes sent a chill down his spine. Who was he? What did he want in life? Which self, which of his desires was the real him? Self. Self, self, self. He felt sick. About 30 minutes later he was back. Within seconds of him knocking on the woman's door, it was open. She must have been waiting there, anxious for his return. The woman met his eyes, gave him a pouty smile, and then slowly lowered her gaze. Her eyes gradually widened, shooting up and down as they did. I've never been very good about thinking of anyone other than myself. I consider myself proficient enough at a conversation, but if I'm not careful, my mind always seems to drift back to myself instead of focusing on whom I'm talking to. That said, I spend a great deal of time thinking about you. The woman took a step back. Yukimasa followed. And I concluded this is the best way for me to make you happy. She didn't even have the time to let out a shriek. There was only the sound of steel slicing flesh, metal grinding against bone, as a nameless katana pierced the woman's breast. Her mouth flapped open and shut, while her eyes were held wide open, affixed on the man standing before her. Faint gasps escaped her lips in sputters. Perhaps she wanted to scream. Perhaps she wanted to cry and shout and say this wasn't what she wanted. But there wasn't enough strength left in her emaciated body to do either. As blood spilled down the sides of her lips, she mustered the last scraps of her strength, and with it she forced out her parting words, carefully chosen and enunciated to ensure he heard every last one. You pitiful man. What kind of hopeless fool would throw their life away just to kill a worthless prostitute? She cursed him as her life slipped away. Yukimasa, however, let out a laugh and muttered, "Don't you worry, I still have enough control to not act sheerly on impulse." Hey, Yukimasa, you hear about that whore you've been banging? She was killed last night, cut to pieces like the others. I swear it's like trouble follows you wherever you go. Lord Almighty, stay away from me, man. I don't want to catch the attention of whatever evil spirit is taking a liking to you. That was probably best. He would be safer keeping his distance. Yukimasa gazed idly out at the port town as it faded out of view. He then turned toward the ocean. That vast, familiar blue expanse. The waves against the boat sounded vaguely like splashing blood. "Can I ask you something, Pauline?" Yukimasa said in the warm embrace of his sweetheart. "Anything." "What would you think if I were actually an unspeakably evil man?" "Huh? Where'd that come from?" she asked with a smile, evidently assuming the question was in jest. Idle curiosity. "Well, bad people come in all shapes and forms. What sort of bad things would you do?" "How about committing murder? Deceiving people?" The words that came from Yukimasa's mouth were not the ones he'd prepared to say, which came as a surprise even to him. Why had he not been able to say what he had wanted? What reason could he possibly have had? Did he not want to raise any suspicions? No, that wasn't it. Is being dishonest really evil? Sure, it's bad if you lie to cheat someone out of their money or cause them pain, but no one's perfectly honest with everyone they meet. I try to be straightforward and truthful as best as I can, but I'm sure I slip from time to time. So listen to me, Yukimasa. Pauline gave a wide, infinitely loving smile. Even if you have something to hide, something you're ashamed to tell me, that won't change how I feel about you. You've got nothing to worry about. Besides, I plan to be with you for years and years to come. You want to know what my life dream is? I'd love to. My dream is to live a long, quiet life with you. I don't need anything extravagant, just an ordinary life, slowly growing older, having 3, maybe 4 children. We'd never fight, and eventually, before I knew it, I'd be an old lady thinking, it was an uneventful life, but it was the best I could have asked for. That's the life I want. And what about you? Ah, now he understood. He didn't want to risk cracking the foundation she provided him. The sanctuary she formed around him. Yes, I too wish for a peaceful life with you. Yikes. Well, I like that one a lot too. That was also really good. Very, very Yukimasen. Very interesting to see him like forming this bond with that prostitute and like, well, seeing that he can form relationships with other similar to him in a way, like defectives, if you would use his words. But how she ended makes me worry even more for Pauline's safety. Like, what if he decides one day that, yeah, killing her would probably be the best, you know? Yeah, as I said, they are very toxic, and I so wished that Pauline could have just called the police and moved on with her life, honestly. Because she deserves better. She's a sweet girl, even if she isn't completely right in the head, apparently. Peaceful with a slice of murder on the side. Yeah. I am looking at the time. I think we do have time for one more, but I definitely need to take a stretch/bathroom break and also refill my water glass. So let's take a short break and then we return for the third story. Does that sound good to you? Yeah, it is what Pauline wanted, but still, I don't like it. But yeah, short break. Do take the time to stretch as well, because it is not good to sit still for too long, as you well know. So yeah, see each other soon. I am back, and I accidentally pressed the button, which I didn't mean to. Alright, are we feeling ready for another story? I think this will be the last one for today, because we are running low on time. So we still have quite a lot of stories to to go through, but I'm not complaining because I am enjoying this a lot. Like, this has been a wonderful time, really. So I hope you guys agree as well. Oh my god, no, I'm not okay. What is going on with my... Hang on a sec. Hello? Wow, okay. Hang on. Let's hide me for a bit so I can restart the YouTube studio. Thank you for noticing that, day. My god. Is everything else okay? Does everything sound good? Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see here. Hello, YouTube studio. Thank you. Okay, good. Lolly's rocking. Yeah, she was having the time of her life. My little avatar there. Wow. Okay. Soon I should be ready to be up again. Just gonna check on my settings. That is working perfectly. Let's turn on the camera again. Hello. There. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it works, so... I'm done. There we go. I'm back. Wow. Okay, now I feel ready for the third story. Oh my goodness. I'm guessing this will be about George then, since it was a painting's ramblings. It's what I'm guessing. Why, hello there, Giselle. Doing your rounds again. Such a diligent young lady you are. You could get away with cleaning this place once every couple of decades and no one be the wiser. What? You're not Giselle. That's someone else. Oh no, you're just the maid. And who am I, you ask? Well, this is quite a pickle. What on earth could have happened while I was dozing off? You think you're just a maid, and you think you're the witch at the same time. You've forgotten just about everything, and I don't think anything I say is going to fix that. You do seem a bit mellower now, and not so constantly miserable. Wasn't sure what to say to you before, or if I should say anything at all. So I didn't say much out of consideration for you. Not that you could really tell from looking at me, I guess. If forgetting takes some weight off you, then maybe it's for the best. Not that I think you should forget, and not that I want you to forget about Michelle. But I won't blame you for choosing not to spend God knows how much longer agonizing over it. Nothing wrong with abandoning ship, especially considering how long you spent on it. And hey, it hurt me too seeing you in so much pain, so we both come out on top here, I guess. What a kind painting, you say? Well, thank you kindly. But the truth is, I'm not nearly as upstanding a guy as people think I am. And it was us bowling ears that turned your life upside down and caused you all that misery and suffering. Yeah, I know, the first dumbfounded smile was testament enough. Everything I say is going in one ear and out the other. Which means I'm free to say whatever I want. By the time tomorrow rolls around, you'll have forgotten all about the curious talking painting you chanced upon today. So I'll start with this. It's a huge relief to see you smiling again. It's not the smile of someone right in the head, I can see that much. But it's a lot easier on the eyes and the heart than how you were before. Like I said, I'm a real winner. I'm not particularly concerned about putting up appearances here. Call me heartless if you will, you wouldn't be wrong. I'm not going to pretend I'm some saint, but at the same time, I'm not going to play like I'm a cackling villain either. Either. If there's one thing I don't want people to see though, it's me looking weak. I'm the laid-back guy without a care in the world. That's what I want people to see when they look at me. My big brother was your standard cookie-cutter, you can count on me for anything kind of brother. I mean, that ended up not being the case, but he sure looked the part. And Michel, he always looked up to Dee, went to him for everything, gave him all his love. Dee was tall and well-built, muscular, everything about him screamed manly man. And I kinda admired that too, though not nearly as much as Michel did. I became a painter in part because I didn't want to follow in my brother's footsteps. Not to say I don't like painting, I love it, but people weren't going to be inclined to compare us as often. I didn't have to be as fit as him, or as good at chess. I had my own thing to be good at, art. I couldn't beat him at his own game, so I beat him at mine. And my whole not a care in the world deal was probably, at least on some level, a shield against having to admit I couldn't compare. Oof. I am liking where this is going a lot. And I can like empathize with this so much, or sympathize. Like I can feel that, like having someone in your life that is so good at stuff and you just feel like you can't compare. So you like have to be good at your own thing, you know? I can relate to that, definitely. And that it is still, even if you are having your own thing, it's still something that kind of nags in the back of your head. If we were a few years further apart, maybe I could have just had the same admiration and respect for him as Michel. But it's not much getting past that boyish competitiveness when you're so close in age. I know I've been rambling at you for a while already, but would you mind sticking around a little longer? Great! I got an old story I'd like to get off my chest. This is something I was planning to take to the grave, and something I don't think Giselle ever needs to know. But well, you say you're not Giselle anymore, and I'm already in the grave, so what the hell? I'm just gonna talk to myself for a bit here, and if you kindly forget anything you may overhear, that'd be lovely. Back before I became a painting, I was the head of the Bollinger family, though I spent most of my time painting. It really wasn't a job for me though, a guy who half-assed his way straight through life, so I left all the business's stuff to my wife, Amy. Now she was a real capable girl. If she'd been born a guy, she would have made up one heck of a diplomat. Possibly even caught a king's eye. Before we were married, she had a bit of a fling with Dee, which she felt real bad about later. I guess she felt bad that she was caught. Probably didn't help that I had a tendency to bring it up from time to time. Not all the time, just occasionally. But that aside, she was a faithful, hard-working partner. It didn't take long for us to become known as the dope and his able bride. To which Amy would always interject, "You're just a very capable man, thank you very much." Now, that probably makes it sound like I just showed all the work running the house onto her. But in truth, she wanted a job. She quite enjoyed it, and who was I to complain? I guess she got what she wanted. She was also, just like Michel, kind of sick of living the woman's life. She was bored, so she got what she wanted, question mark? I'm not happy for her though. I will never be, because she's the devil, but like, yeah. If it makes your life easier, then good, I guess. It also meant I didn't have to deal with one of the family's more significant dilemmas. Namely, my mother. Not to be crass, but Mom was not quite all there. She'd always been a bit of a nervous wreck, and it didn't take much to set her off. But it was what happened with Michelle that finally broke her. Mom had, I guess you could say, a very particular image of what she wanted Michelle to be, and he ended up not fitting that image. Now, you're probably thinking, that doesn't seem like such a big deal. But it is. I just can't tell you why. Michelle has to be the one to tell you. Anyway, some bad stuff went down, and at the end of it all, Mom was constantly hovering over the edge. Dad gave up on her entirely, and I just wasn't sure how to approach her, so I kept my distance. Amy was the only one in the family who would actively engage with Mom. So while she had betrayed me once, I had come to trust Amy again. We had a couple of kids, I turned into a doting father, and life was well. All my problems swept under the rug. Mom's condition, Michelle. I left it all to Amy and enjoyed a pleasant, carefree life. But then Giselle, or I guess you're just a maid now. Not long after Michelle died. My oh my, you really aren't Giselle anymore, huh? So back to my rambling. Michelle died, and I got furious at Dee over it. But I keep coming back to that. Who really deserved the brunt of the blame in that situation? It's nice and comfy to sit back and do nothing. You can throw blame around all you want. It wasn't your fault, after all. You're not the one who killed him, you know. It wasn't long afterwards that Dee died too. Killed on a battlefield. I was told he died a very noble death, but I couldn't help but think he was in a hurry to escape. Listening to the news, I kept telling myself I shouldn't have snapped at him like that. I shouldn't have blamed him. Dee had to choose between protecting Mom or protecting our brother, and he settled on Mom. He was too hard-headed to come up with a way to protect them both. Though even if he had, it was too risky. He served the church directly, and we were all under its thumb. If word spread that one of our own had supposedly sold his soul to the devil, that would be the end of the Bollinger family. It wouldn't have escaped unscathed either. I wouldn't have escaped unscathed either, my god. I know how to read. Losing both of my brothers in quick succession crushed me. And as I started breaking down, it was, you guessed it, Amy who comforted me. It's terrible what happened, but it's not your fault. That was around when I began sensing something was off. I mean, she'd had a thing with Dee. You'd expect she would have been bawling her eyes out right alongside me. So why on earth was she so calm? But I didn't press her on it. I knew I wouldn't get an answer even if I did. And I also didn't have much of a right to question Amy when I was pushing all my problems onto her. Doubly so knowing that opening my dumb mouth was what had done this to Dee in the first place. And before long, we went back to our normal routine. About 8 years after Michelle's death, Mom was gone too, and the Bollinger family was down to me, Amy, and our 2 sons. I had started teaching the boys how to paint, and I loved every minute of it. And then one day, I started feeling unwell. My fingers would get kind of tingly, such that holding a brush for long periods of time would hurt. So gradually, my time spent both teaching and painting dwindled, and even leaving the manor became difficult. At first, I just thought it was a little strange, nothing to be worried about. But then it started getting real bad, and I'd be stuck in bed for days at a time. We called a doctor to look at me, but I couldn't find anything wrong. Amy said I must be overworking myself, and she made me these nice, hearty meals hoping to bring back my energy. But my condition only got worse. Eventually, I started losing my appetite, but Amy, she insisted I eat anyway, or I would never get better. Am I a terrible person for thinking that Amy is poisoning him? Like, that's where my mind is going. I don't trust her at all. So, you know what I did? I tossed out a meal she made when she wasn't looking. I'm glad that I'm not the only one thinking that day. I sent my younger boy out to town to buy me food in secret. And for a while I ate that instead of Amy's meals, making sure it looked like nothing had changed. And after a week or two, the tingling in my fingers started going away. Oh my... She is the devil! Oh my god, I hate her! I could only laugh. Laugh and grit my teeth and then cry my eyes out. I made a life with this woman, trusted her, and she goes and does this. Anger and sorrow were drowned out by raw heartbreak. My firstborn, he was getting to be about the age he could take over, which is why I had used my younger son to run errands for me. I couldn't be sure the two weren't working together. Oh god, that's just... Yeah, Amy got bored again. Or if it's just that she wants her son to take over. Because she obviously never cared much for George because she wanted to be with Didier. If she even wanted that, like, it might have just been a fling because he was hotter, but like, she really just wants to be in charge completely. Ugh, she's just despicable, honestly. Ugh. I mean, it would happen anyway. Yeah, it would, but I mean, I guess she wants to quicken it. I don't know. I don't know how her mind works. She's just... ugh. I was at a total loss. What are you supposed to do when your wife's trying to poison you to a slow death? Even now, I'm not sure what the right course of action in that situation would have been. Maybe I could have banished her, had her punished. But remember, I was only head in name. She handled everything, and there was no way I would have been able to pick up the pieces after throwing her out. And if my suspicions were right, and my older boy was in on it too, getting rid of Amy wouldn't have solved anything. What then? Spend the rest of my days living in fear of my own family? I was by that point worn pretty thin, both physically and emotionally. Every thought led to the worst possible outcome. I couldn't for the life of me come up with a workable solution. Eventually I got it into my head that it was punishment, that I deserved it. Obviously what Amy was doing wasn't right, but my hands weren't exactly clean either. Maybe Mom could have recovered if I had looked after her. Maybe Dee would still be alive if I had put myself in his shoes instead of just snapping at him. Maybe if I had given everyone the care and attention they deserved, Michelle wouldn't have had to die. Burying your head in the sand doesn't absolve you of responsibility. And when I finally realized how great a sin inaction was, it was far too late. I'm dumb, short-sighted, and I hated myself for not figuring that out sooner. It should have been stupidly obvious that my action and inaction were doing the people... It should have been stupidly obvious what my action and inaction were doing to the people around me. I should have seen all of this coming. Yeah, Amy had betrayed me, but she wasn't the only one guilty of that. When I was going through Michelle's stuff after his death, I came across a painting that had been torn to shreds. Yeah, that one. That I had made. By refusing to use my head, I had done something that denied his identity, and he left this world, still carrying the pain I had caused him. Oh, that is so powerful. Oh, I love this. Like, it is so lovely to see this guilt in George. Like, it's painful because I like him. He's fun and I like him a lot. But like, yeah, he's putting he's absolutely correct, because he didn't do anything. Like, Michel was left alone in that house for so long, and he thought that his brothers just had abandoned him because they never, like, tried to contact him or anything. They just lived their lives, basically. And then the painting. He should have realized that that it would hurt him, but still, he did it because Mom asked me to do it, so I did it. But like, it's like he says, inaction is just as much of a sin as actions can be. So it is nice to see that he's realizing that and that he's regretting it, even though it's far too late. But like, still, he's not evil. He's just done bad. And yeah, and that, once again, the House of Fata Morgana in a nutshell. It's about very human experiences. Like, who hasn't done what George has done? Or like, it's even the same thing with Mel, really. Just ignoring the problem. It's not my problem. I'm not going to get involved in this. I'm living my life. I'm not gonna get involved. But you see that maybe someone is suffering, or there is something that you could do somewhere to stop something bad from happening, but you don't do it because it's easier to just stick your head in the sand and just ignore it. It's so human, and that's also part of the tragedy. Like, it's so realistic, it's so very human. And that doesn't make George a bad person. Like, he's a sweet guy who cares a lot for his brothers. But he's human, so he makes mistakes. And this mistake has been very bad, and it's something that he will regret into his very death. Like, he's rambling about it to Giselle now, after he has died. Like, so it's so beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this so much. Bored because George was too nice and normal. Yeah, maybe. Could be. Victim of not thinking the consequences of his actions. Yeah. Very much so. By the time I had come to that conclusion, I wondered why I was even alive at all. I couldn't blame anyone for wanting me dead. So I started eating Amy's meals again. How good and well it would like to kill me. Oh my god. Oh, George. Michel would be heartbroken if he knew this. He would not want you to like, basically kill yourself by letting Amy kill you. I didn't stop sending my younger boy out though. Just not for food. I also strongly encouraged him to move out and become a court artist. Then I started painting again. It was going to be my final piece. Every day the tingling in my hands spread a little further, my breathing grew a little more labored. I was afraid I might not finish while I was still able to get out of bed, but I somehow managed. It was the most harrowing experience I had painting something in my entire life. True to her facade, Amy stayed at my side until my last breath. She held my hand tight, giving me a strained smile. It didn't occur to me at the time, but Amy always seemed to be smiling, no matter what. In a way, it's kind of impressive how she managed to keep up the loving wife act while simultaneously loading me up with poison. Tell me, Amy, how deep did your poison flow? Very deep. So deep. When you were looking after Mom, did you talk about Michel? Knowing you probably figured out he was still alive. And I bet you read his final letter to her. It was you who pushed her to set everything in motion, wasn't it? Oh, I didn't even consider that. I hate her. I hate her so much. Oh, so many things I wanted to say, but I stayed my tongue and made these my parting words. I loved you so much, Amy. So I ask you this. Keep my last painting in memory of me. I have no idea if she actually did as I requested, but the last thing I saw before I passed was her nodding, a smile on her lips. The paint I used to make it, I mixed with a special something I had my younger boy go out and buy for me. A substance that, according to what I was told, slowly dissolves into the air, making it toxic. Oh my. Okay. And it has some sort of reaction with the paint as well, turning it almost black. I'm quite proud of how it turned out, if I do say so myself. It was a gorgeous landscape painting. Sorry for rambling at you for so long. That's the end of my story. Were you even listening to me? What? You have to go clean the fireplace? Well, alright, don't let me keep you. Just please make sure you forget everything by tomorrow, alright? I'm counting on you. I know. Why even say anything, right? I wanted to tell someone. I just don't want anyone to actually know about it. The human heart's a big ball of contradictions like that, you know? You don't? Oh. Okay. Well, see ya. It'll be another few decades before you come by again, I imagine. And when you do, will it be our first time meeting again? Will you even be able to hear my voice anymore by then? Maybe it'd be best if I forgot everything too, who knows? So long, maid, and take care. When an angel comes to judge me, how will his scales tilt? Towards forgiveness, or towards reckoning? But you know, I don't want it to be an angel who makes that decision. No. You don't have to be an angel. You don't have to be an angel at all. Wow. That one was probably my favorite of them so far. That was really, really good. It was so, like I said, so nice to see his regret, and also someone finally gave Amy what she deserved. Like, she deserved even worse. Like, slow poisoning through breathing the air. Like, that's too nice. But it's something. If she is going to kill George, he is taking her with him. And I love him for that. Wow. My goodness. Independent, strong woman who needs no man to a point that gets rid of them. Yeah. Ambitiously strong woman. I mean, yeah, but that should be included in the main game. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Hang on, I'm gonna change the screen here actually because we are about to end it. But I would say yes and no, because I feel yes, because it is like very much part of the main story in a way. It is a very nice piece to have, but at the same time I don't feel like it's needed, because we do kind of get to see George regret, not this from the inside, but we still get to see bits and pieces of it when he's like reuniting with Michelle. And also, like, even before Michelle has reclaimed himself, he says that he wants to apologize to him. He feels bad about it, so we kind of get that point across still. But I still very much enjoy this a lot, and I think it was glorious to see that he didn't just accept the death peacefully. That he actually did something to get revenge on Amy. And that's great, because he doesn't know what she did to Michelle, but I feel like if he did know, yeah, he might have even thought of something worse, because he loved Michelle. That much is evident. It would have been from the wrong point of view. Yeah, I feel that as well, because the main game is very much Michelle and Giselle's and Morgana's story. Even more so like Michelle and Giselle. Morgana gets her story in Requiem more, but still I would say those three are more main characters, so it wouldn't really fit to have it in the main story. But that's why it's so good that we can have it here. I enjoyed it a lot. That was so good. And we still have a lot of stories left, which I'm very happy about. Which means we will get more of the house in Fata Morgana, which is always good. So I'm glad that these three took some time. We'll see if there are others that are shorter. I mean, it's so hard to estimate the time it will take to read, because reading everything out loud takes much longer than it would take reading silently by my own. So, but yeah, might even be like 3-4 streams, considering how many stories there are left. But as I said, I'm not complaining. It's I am enjoying my time. It starts with the swaps to Michelle. It is all Michelle, isn't it? Yeah, just guided by Giselle. We get to see pieces from Giselle's point of view as well. But mostly it is Michelle. Like, Michelle is the main character. But we get to see some of it from her point of view as well, when we open both of their door. But yeah. But yeah, I am looking forward to reading the rest of this. Like, so far, really good. It feels it feels good. And it feels weird to say it, but it feels good to have these more like darker stories again. I kind of missed it, so it feels good to like end on that note. Even though Reincarnation was a fantastic ending to the whole trilogy, but still, this is why I fell in love with this game from the start, like, because it is just very dark and haunting and tragic. So yeah. But yeah, the next stream will be on Thursday, and I will be playing Crisis Core, so please come and hang out with me then too. It will be a lot of fun. We are at Nibelheim, so we will see the scene next time. And also I will try to also get the cute flower wagon before we even start. I'm going to go back, because now I looked at what we need, and I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I do think I might have done most of the missions that is required already. So all we need to do is like the whole spy kind of mission, which I did a like short Google on how to do. Not spoiling anything for me, but just like checking the requirements. So we're doing that, and then we're going to see Sephiroth burn shit down. So it will be a glorious Crisis Core episode, I feel. And also, I might mention, I mean, it's not really something that I need to mention right now, but I still want to say it. Next week, the time of the streams will be a bit different, because we are heading into winter time, or normal time, I guess it is. So it will be GMT +1 instead of +2 on the schedule, so keep an eye out for that. But I will plan like the streams ahead of time as well, so that it will convert to your time, so that you can just press the notification. So hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. Pain is the best feeling. Pain is a good feeling in stories, I feel. I do like it, actually. I mean, I like happy stories too. Like, I have two sides. Like, I love super cute, super happy, super fun, like Disney, for example. I'm a huge Disney fan. but I also tend to like these like darker, tragic stories, like The House in Fata Morgana. So I'm a mix of both those extremes, I feel. But yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, right. Also, I will mention this until the day I die, I almost said, but until we are done with Crisis Core at least, that I have a poll up on my community tab, so about which Final Fantasy we will be playing after Crisis Core. So if you are interested in voting for that, then go and do that. It will be open until we are done with Crisis Core, so you still have some time, but the more the time goes, the closer we get to a final result. Right now, Final Fantasy VIII is leading quite a lot, but that might change. So take your chance to make a difference in what you want to see. Although I will play all three of the alternatives eventually, so it's more a matter of like in which order I will play them, really. But yeah, I think that was everything I need to mention. I have been rambling for so long and reading for so long, I feel like I need to drink some water, I need to rest my voice, and I am going to go and eat some dinner and have a shower and relax for a bit before it's time to head to bed and go to work tomorrow. Oh, perfect, Duder. Thank you for putting the link there. So yeah, that's the link to the poll. Good job. But yeah, thank you so much for being with me here, guys. It's been a lot of fun as always. I hope you guys enjoyed this as well. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!